In this video, I'm continuing my series of analyzing your guys' gameplay. We're going up in the ranks today, as I'm going to analyze Zoro's perspective in a match between Mushroom Team and Star Clan. And as always, if you want me to analyze your gameplay, join my Discord server and let me know. The only requirements are that you send me a YouTube, not Twitch, VOD, and you give me the timestamps of the 3 races you want to be analyzed. It's pretty easy, but regardless, let's start giving her, bud. Just before getting started, if you enjoy this video, consider subscribing. It's free. It helps me out a lot, and you can always change your mind. Starting things off, we got Sunshine Airport. I think Zoro plays this race alright for the most part, but there are 2 general things I'd like to point out that you can fix pretty quickly, which is nice. And as always, most of the time I say you, I'm referring to Zoro. Now, this is a very light mistake given your situation in the race, but I do think it's important to bring this up because it is a habit. While you do seem to have decent knowledge of the general driving lines, it feels like you sometimes go out of your way to drive unconventionally when you don't need to. I know you're on Scooty, so naturally you want to do a few more mini turbos to stay up to speed, but you may be taking that too literally, at least in this clip. I think refining your general lines could be a solid first step to improving, as we did see a bit of a weird shortcut here as well. But yeah, the point is, try not to be too flashy with your driving, even if you are on Scooty. You could have put less effort into your driving and be way faster than you were here, so just keep that in mind. Now, I really like what you did here. You acknowledged that your team had top 2 or 3 and wanted to ensure that your teammate got a double box. This is generally really good. The only thing that could have screwed you over is if a Star Clan member took the shortcut, passed your teammates, and had a red behind you while you had a coin. But honestly, for the team, you leaving the double box was a solid play. You probably could have maintained top 2 as well had you not messed up your driving around the second last turn. Again, try to refine your driving and focus on not being flashy. My guess is that unless this was a drift block, you were looking for a super mini turbo, you didn't need it, and you fell down to 3rd because you went for it and missed. But this shouldn't be too hard to fix, so keep your head up. Now, I know that this may seem super unlucky considering the guy legged off, and you couldn't see the back spam coming before it came. Or could you? While the back spam spot itself is a pretty obvious one since the right ramp is faster and you can get a box at the following set, in general, this is a kind of lag you have to adapt to. Acknowledging that the guy could be lagging and could come back out of nowhere and screw you over is a pretty important aspect of competitive play, so this is something I think you could work on. Try to get into the habit of predicting lag like this. In this situation, you could have committed to the left or middle ramp in preparation for a surprise back spam. And yeah, this is a very important point to bring up because that single surprise back spam was the start of sending you from 3rd to 10th and eventually 11th. So I hope you understand that while lag can be annoying to deal with, adapting and predicting lag situations like this is really important and could be the difference between you placing well or not. Not much else happened this race since you weren't able to catch up, so yeah, work on the things I mentioned earlier and you'll be giving her full throttle. Next up is Dolphin Shoals. This is another race that Zoro plays alright in, and there are a few things he could work on. Additionally, in case you don't know, the reason he's on Streetle is because that it's really fast underwater, so if Dolphin Shoals has a high chance of getting picked, and the other tracks won't screw you over for switching, consider switching to Streetle. So, I could tell that you acknowledged your low coin count by going wide here, but you didn't get any of the coins you went for. Even though this didn't really matter given what's about to happen shortly, I think if you're in the very back and trying to catch up, coins have way more value. You typically don't have to worry about getting hit in the back, and on top of that, you'll have less people around you to take the coins you're going for. If you're trying to catch up, or even if you're trying to get further in the back to maybe increase the odds of pulling a certain item like the shock, going for coins is always a good option if you lack them. It's also worth noting that you could have actually collected up to 10 coins before the second set, but honestly, you can't really do that on any other track, so this doesn't really mean too much. But the point is, collecting coins is much more important when you're in the back. Now, I really liked what you did here. Usually, you want to avoid the person using shock calling it, just because of Discord lag. Now, I can't understand Spanish, so I don't know if you wanted to use it in a specific place, or you just wanted to use it so that the other team couldn't use a shock of their own. Either way, after finishing the countdown, you waited a little bit before using shock. Great job on that. I've seen this happen so often where the person using shock would call it, and they would use shock as soon as they finish the countdown. And because of Discord lag, some people don't dodge. But regardless, good job on delaying your shock usage. That can go a long way, so keep it up. I know you only had one mushroom, but considering you were already in 10th, I think you should have taken the glider cut here. You barely lost to quite a few people in front of you, and some of your shrooms couldn't be put to the best use because of the second last turn and as you enter the water. While you might not have gotten shrooms at the last set, even learning the one shroom glider cut could have helped you out. And considering you had 4 shrooms to finish the race, I think had you done the glider cut, whether it was in anticipation of pulling more shrooms or not, you would have gained a few more spots at the very end. But all around, I think you have solid game knowledge, but you don't always apply it on the track. So I think getting into the habit of consistently paying close attention to whatever situation you're in, you could take full advantage of your game knowledge. Lastly, we have Excitebike Arena. While Zoro was mainly in the very front this race, I think there are still a few things worth going over, both things that can be worked on and things that Zoro did well. So let's finish strong. I actually can't tell if you got pushed really badly here or not, but let's say you didn't and actually position yourself toward the right before shrooming. On this track, I think it's really important to approach the grass cuts from the left while not going into them super wide, of course. I think had you aimed for the left side of the boost ramp, even if you got bumped, you wouldn't have to do any of the hops you were forced to do here and could instead easily approach the shortcut optimally. There's not too much else to talk about in this situation, just focus on staying a little left before going into the off-road cuts. Now, I really like that you shroomed through the off-road despite having a mushroom in first. While you can dodge a blue with a shroom, Zoro acknowledged that at least 2 Star Clan members were behind him while he only had a shroom and a coin in first, no protection. I think holding a shroom in first is really only good if it's in your pocket with protection in front, or if you're protected by your teammates in any situation. If the guys behind Zoro got a red, unless Zoro did some crazy wall dodge, he'd only be able to shroom afterwards. Besides, if Zoro didn't shroom up, one of the guys behind him would have taken first anyways. So Zoro, good job on shrooming in the cut despite being in first. Alright Zoro, while I understand that you wanted to take the guy with a shroom out, it's important to remember that you didn't know what your second item would be when you tried to hit the guy. So even if you got the trail in, there's a chance you could have gotten a coin instead of a second banana and read it out afterwards since none of your teammates were around you. But you didn't get screwed over here, so it's not a huge deal, but it is something to consider moving forward. Now, it was nice that you swerved to the left once you realized you got passed by an opponent with a boomerang. I think had you stuck to the left in general, you would have covered all of your bases. But that's not why I'm bringing this up. You notice how the boomerang went right through Zoro? Zoro was just barely in the zone where if someone back spams, the person is too close that the item will go right through them. Taking advantage of this is heavily underrated. I stayed right behind someone with fire or something like that countless times because I knew if I spaced, I had a much better chance of getting hit. If you can learn to stay close to people in front of you with fire or a boomerang when they're relentlessly trying to hit you, it'll be impossible for them as long as you're right behind them, since the item will go right through you. That's all for Excitebike Arena though. It's pretty insane how you managed to get first here, but good job either way. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. And for Zaro, you definitely have the potential to take your gameplay to the next level. I think if you can get into the habit of learning the lines on every track and refining yours so you don't have to play unconventionally, as well as fixing the other general flaws I mentioned in this video, you could be giving her full throttle. I look forward to seeing how you progress. But until next time, thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day and keep on giving her, bud.